Or maybe Superman takes his glasses off. I'm not. Aha, we're live. Welcome to OnSet. I am Daniel Norton here with Cadence and Seth on the Mighty Mix. Don't clap for Seth. He get a big head.
Acknowledge me. Acknowledge me.
Seth's just over there eating the microphone if you hear it too loud. Thanks so much for joining us here in chilly New York. Or wherever you are.
What, do you have chili on the mind?
I have chili on. I was just talking about chilies. Gotta get me some fajitas. This is not sponsored. All right, so today we're gonna talk about creating some high contrast black and white images, kind of the real punchy ones. And you know, this is one of those situations where we always talk about getting it right in the camera. Well, not me, but Seth. And
What, are you better than me?
I don't have to talk about it, I just do it. No, but this is still important. We're gonna do some manipulation to the images, but you wanna shoot them in a way that they can be manipulated. So we're gonna talk about the lighting, we're gonna talk about the processing, and yeah, we'll go from there. Did I already say Seth was here? I did, right? Okay. All right, here we go. So I will attempt to describe the gear I'm using as I go, but I will forget after this moment, so I'll start by saying Manfrotto tripod. So this, weirdly, does nobody at home have a tripod? Go on to Adorama right now and buy this tripod. Every single live stream they ask what tripod it is, right, Seth?
Yes.
Buy a tripod.
Well, you didn't say which one it is. You just said
Oh,
Manfrotto.
Manfrotto, 055.
He's like, just buy this one.
Just buy this one.
Just buy it.
Gonna use Profoto lights. I'm using Seth's lights tonight. He's got the B10X Plus. So we got more power and more space. So yeah, it's basically that. And yeah, we're gonna go from there. We're gonna use a beauty dish. This one might not be as good as my beauty dish because it is lacking the brown tape, but we're gonna do our best.
It is lacking the 3.5 dents that we have
I
on
do
the other
see
one.
a scratch though. It's starting to get a little maturity.
It didn't have a scratch till you got in.
All right, so even with the beauty dish, make sure that the weight is over the long leg. Hey, welcome. And yeah, let's get going. So what are we trying to create here? Something a little more graphic. So we're gonna go for really pushed up whites, really kind of closed down blacks. And we wanna think about how we're lighting our subject, right? Because if I just light her the same way I'd normally light her and then just make it more contrasty, it might just look weird, like incorrect. So we wanna go for the graphic in our composition, in our background, how we're lighting this thing. So let's just start right off by getting the light on cadence the way we want it. I'm gonna use a beauty dish, and the reason why is because, well, cadence is beautiful. You wouldn't use this dish on Seth. All right, so it says do not remove on the ground. Have you seen that?
Don't touch that.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch it. Okay, so, no, the reason why I'm gonna use a beauty dish is because this happens to be a silver beauty dish. We talk about this a lot, and here's where it's really gonna matter. This beauty dish, because it's silver, is going to create a more specular light. Specular light means, versus diffuse light, means that your highlights are more apt to blow out. They're gonna bring your highlights up, right? Diffuse light will even out your highlights, specular light will make them pop. Since we're going high contrast, we're gonna start with specular. I am gonna use a grid because this is a very small space. It's been documented, this is smaller than Gavin's studio, just saying. And yeah, we're gonna go from there. We're gonna move it in close. Actually, I'll have you come a little closer to me. Boom, there she is. And we're gonna go with kind of a classic 45-degree. Some people, there was a painter. Anyways.
No one cares about that painter.
Nobody
I
cares
don't wanna
about that
hear it
painter.
ever again.
All right, so let's just get a baseline. So when we get going here, oh, I'm gonna spin this. You can see myself. All right, so before we do anything, we're using flash, but I want to establish that the flash is going to be all the light we have in the space. This is gonna be very important here, as always, because I'm doing a lighting demo, and if I just use the light that's here, that wouldn't be very exciting, would it? I mean, it might be easy, but it wouldn't be exciting. Unless you do all your shoots at Adorama. Do they rent the space out for people to shoot? They don't. Okay, so do not contact Seth about that. Do not. I'm gonna get a text at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what they do?
Do you reformat your skull every time you walk in here? Do I have to start from zero with you all the time?
Yes, you do. All right. All right, so I'm gonna turn my lights off. I've never used this controller before, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, are you right?
Yeah, I need to turn it off. How do we turn them off?
Which?
Just turn it off so it doesn't fire.
No. Here.
Oh, you have to turn the whole controller. Wait, all
You
right,
don't
so
have to, but it's easy.
I will turn the whole controller. We're gonna turn all the lights off. We're gonna set our camera at the lowest ISO within its normal range. 100 in this case. Shutter speed, fastest shutter speed, again, without using high-speed sync, because nobody uses high-speed sync anymore. Well, unless they need it. And then finally, we're gonna set our aperture basically closed down enough to get rid of the light in the space, but opened up enough to give us the depth of field we're looking for. I like 7.1. And the reason why is because when I was a kid, I had a view camera, and it had a Kodak lens. It was a 7.1 lens.
Yeah.
I just made that up completely, but you know, whatever. Put that in my biography. Okay, it's off. We're gonna take a shot. We should get a black frame, hopefully. Come over here to capture one. I sauntered. That was a saunter. Would you call that a saunter? How I moved over like that? Black frame. That's what we're going for. This is gonna basically establish that any of the light that's in the shot is created by me. That way I can't, you know, use Seth's beautiful light in here. But I want to see how dark it is though. So I'm going to bring this up till I start to see detail in her around there. And we're going to look. This is 2.39 stops under. That means I have some room to move for my shadows and such. This is a good place to be. We are going to manipulate our image, so I want room to move. If it was only like 1 stop underexposed, but it still looked black, I wouldn't have a whole lot of space to move. Giving me 2 stops gives me more room to move. Okay, so that's good. Now let's bring our light in and get a baseline shot. This is the shot that we call baseline. See how Seth turned it off, but then he didn't tell me how to turn it on? I'll figure it out. Hold it, and it's on. Okay. I'm in auto, which is TTL, and we're going to take a shot. Boom. Hopefully the flash went off, and we see a beautiful shot. Oh, yeah, look at that. Beautiful. It's a little hot. Now, you might say, well, that's perfect, because we want the shot to be hot, right? But we don't want to be too overexposed, so we're not going to keep it overexposed yet. What we want to do when we're doing this is get a base exposure first, like a normal exposure, if you will. So I'm actually going to come in here, and we're going to switch to manual by hitting auto. And I can see it's at 7.2. I'm going to turn it down about half a stop. That's just based on my own personal experience and what I feel like it would look best. That should get us in the range where her skin tone is better. Yeah, there we go. Still bright, but now we have detail where we didn't before, right? Easy as that. That's 6.8 if anybody is listening or concerned with that. Now, you can see because we're using a grid that for the most part the background's dark. I'd like it to be darker than that, so I'm actually going to change the position of my light a little bit more. I'll put it a little closer to her, even though we just got that. When you're moving a light closer and further away from your subject, you might often see me do this, and I don't always say it, so I'll make a point of saying it. You want to also manipulate the height. That is to say that if you just saw what I did there, I lowered it. When you are moving your light further back, you're generally going to want to raise the light up. It just will look more natural because remember, your light's coming at an angle. The further back you go, the lower it'll be on her body. So if you have your light in the perfect spot like this, and I move it back, next thing you know, you're lighting, you know, her amulet. What do you call it, an amulet? Necklace. Pendant.
Camera and lens.
Camera and lens. This is a Nikon Z6ii. And the lens is a 24 to 120, recommended to me by Seth.
The question, chat, does a softbox with a deflector plate inside work the same as a beauty dish? I want the sculpting effect without lugging around a bowl.
Okay. I went back to CTL, so it's hot again.
Try spot metering.
Spot metering, okay. Does the deflector inside a softbox do the same thing as what's inside a beauty dish? Yes and no. It probably doesn't do what you think it does. So that's what I'm gonna say. What the deflector does in the beauty dish is prevent a hot spot. Doesn't make the light softer, it doesn't do anything like that. You're not trying to hit the deflector and have it bounce back, even though that is often what happens. The deflector is there so you don't get a hot spot. So yes, in a softbox, it will do the same thing. Does a softbox that's round look like a beauty dish? Not really. It's close, but not exactly right. I actually did a whole video about that on my channel if you want to check it out, where I actually show you both. And, you know, again, if you don't want to carry it, everything we do in life, a little life lesson, risk versus reward, right? We can decide that if we want exactly this beauty dish because I shot this picture here and then Cadence wants the same shot somewhere else, I'm going to carry the beauty dish. If I just want a beauty dish looking shot, I could start with a softbox, it'd be fine. You know, but the deflector's not what does that. It's the shape of the beauty dish, the shallowness of it. Did you put it on spot? Is that what you did?
It didn't change it. It didn't really change it.
Yeah, it didn't change anything. It's just a little hot.
Put it back to page.
Yeah. All right, it's a little hot. That's okay. I'm actually come back this way with it.
It's got a grit on it. I think you should have told people that.
I do have a grid on the beauty dish because everybody who is cool puts a grid on the beauty dish. The grid is controlling the spread of light. We don't want the light in the background. That's why I'm using the grid. Also, it does actually add a little bit more contrast, which might also be why we're looking a little bit hot. All right, we'll try one more. Do I set my white balance in the camera? Yes. 5,000 is where I set it. A very wise and old photographer taught me to do that.
Were you looking in the mirror?
This guy. Exactly. No, I wasn't pointing at you. The audience was.
Yeah, and you tried it and you never went back.
I tried it and never went back. It's absolutely true. So yes, I like it at 5,000. That's the way I like the skin tone to look, but that's just personal taste. Okay, I just adjusted my exposure. Okay, so now we have a proper exposure. I gave it TTL minus half, if that's anything. We've got a nice contrast here. The background's mostly black. I can live with that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start building this out. Again, if I just make this black and white, I think it's just going to fall off into nothingness. And I know it is, and I will show you that. Because I feel like a lot of people say things, and then you just have to believe them, but I'm going to show you. If we hit this, it's just a black and white shot, right? There's really nothing that interesting here, because we're going to lose all of this. You know, nothing here is that, what we want to do is pop her out. We want to give a reason why we're using high contrast. So before we do anything there, let's get our second light in. As we all know, the more lights you use, the more you get paid. So because I want to get paid sufficiently today, I'm going to use a second light. This is a Profoto B10X Plus. Same thing, it's just a different group. It's fitted in my favorite softbox.
You want to do anything from the remote when you're in this new mode, okay?
Yep, I'm going to do it with the remote. I just make sure it was on. Extra small, shallow, super pro. This is also silver on the inside, but this is a more dull silver. It's also being diffused. Why am I using this in the back and not in the front? This is going to hit her hair. I want her hair to have a nice sheen on it. I don't want it to be like blasted. So we want a little bit more of a diffused light in the back.
Why TTL versus manual?
Why TTL versus manual? Well, the camera is in manual. If I just put the flash in manual, I wouldn't know my exposure without using a handheld meter, which I do not have with me right now. Do I want one? Yeah, I mean, I could use a meter. This space is so small, okay. How did I work in here for so many years? Are you sure the space is bigger than it used to be?
You're just rusty, old man.
I'm just rusty, okay. All right, so we're gonna set up a bit of a hair light. Cadence is gonna work this way slightly with her face. This is in my B group, which is now on.
What is the ideal height for a key light?
Okay, so do you want the ideal height for the key light in centimeters or inches? Okay. That's a good question. Generally, you want your key light to be above the eye line of your subject. So the height, it depends on how tall they are. And then based on that, the distance from the subject. All right, that looks beautiful. Okay, good. The light on her face is still hot. Probably because TTL is getting a little confused. So now I am going to switch to manual. So TTL will get you like in the right ballpark. I mean, if I was shooting a wedding and I was constantly moving around and changing things, I'd leave it in TTL all day, but I'm doing a portrait, she's not moving. So once I get roughly where I want to be, I'm going to switch to manual. You can just do that by hitting the controller. It will stay where it was. Again, this light is a little hot on her face. I'm going to bring it down about half a stop. I'm going to have her turn this way slightly. I'm going to give myself a composition that I like. Okay. So we're getting this. Oh yeah, this is okay, good.
You all right?
Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so we're getting, no, it's actually, I'm liking the transition here from black to bright to dark to middle to dark. So when you're trying to make something look three-dimensional, you want to mix your light. You don't want to have it bright then black, it'll just fall off to nothing. You want to have it go around. So you want dark or white, and then light, and then black, and then gray, and then back around. This is how we create dimension in the image. And yeah, I think we're good. All right, let's start to work on this. I'm gonna get a shot I like, and then we'll start messing with the, I'm gonna come up a little bit because people don't like when you cut off the top of somebody's head. So I'm still gonna do it, but I'm gonna have Cadence look this way more. Yeah, there we go.
While he's doing that, you got about 250 people in the chat and only 85 likes. You know they're free, right, guys? Dan needs
Are likes
these.
free
He
these
needs
days?
them.
All right, so we've got this shot. Let's just start here. Let's start to get ourselves in the space, because what we want to do is, I should say what we don't want to do is shoot all day, then go home and go, all right, let's make these black and white, because I want to see them in black and white as I'm shooting them. In my mind, if I get home and I can just make it black and white, it probably isn't going to be the same. But also, if I shoot it in black and white now, and I go home and turn it to color and I love it, I probably didn't light it very well for black and white. You light them differently. They've got a different feel to them. So we're gonna come over here and make this black and white, and we're gonna make our adjustments now. So we're just gonna do this real simple. This is capture one. Effectively, if anybody's developed black and white in the darkroom, probably not, you know, you filter the light in order to bring out different aspects of the image. And this is similar. We're gonna come in here, we have different channels. We've got red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta. So for somebody with the skin tone of Cadence, the red and the yellows are going to make the most difference.
Why not shoot monochrome in camera?
So why not shoot monochrome in camera? Because then I am trapped into the preset that the camera company made for me. And I don't really want that. And it's not a bad way to go if you don't have anything else.
It also goes to JPEG, not RAW usually.
That's also true, yeah. So if we bring the reds up, we can see how that's, see, I'll bring it down. If we bring the reds down, that's like the first day that you've been in a dark room and you screw it up, like that's what it looks like, right? But if we start to bring it up, we can see how it's now giving us that lightness in the skin. And because we're doing it this way, we're not overexposing. We're just blasting out those parts of her, you know, her skin tone, which is what we're looking to blow out. Okay, we can do the same with yellow. And again, I'll show you both. We can see where the yellow is mostly affecting her hair at this point. We can see it bringing a little bit in. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see. You know, barely anything on her skin, although look at her eyes. Woohoo, weird, okay. But we can mostly see it over here in these tones of her hair. See it coming up and down? I actually like that it's making her eyes brighter, and I don't mind what it's doing to the hair, so I'll do that. And then you can see these aren't gonna do much. They might affect her clothes a little bit. Yeah, that's not gonna do much. That's the green. The blue, nope, nothing. Like these, on a person, yep, go ahead.
And this is color grading, so remember,
Yeah.
this is for the current shot he's going for, so he will continue to shoot for this color grading.
That's right.
Do you want a little light back there? Because I see that the blue is moving that light.
That's right. Good you noticed that. All right, at first I was like, oh, it's good to have the light back there. And then I was like, I saw this blue manipulating, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I was kind of trying to decide if I like that. I kind of, I'm torn. I can make it brighter actually too, right? Let's pick a spot. Let's see. How about right there?
Make
Mostly-
more noises like that. That's all we need. Yes.
That's
keep
me
going.
thinking. All right. All right, and then we'll just show the magenta, nothing. So yeah, so you see how the blue. What's that?
Hit the lower lip when you move the magenta.
The magenta did? Yeah, the magenta affected her lips. That's correct. And I guess if I go way over here, it's going to blow out her skin too.
So no, this is what color grading is that when now that we're in this era and we're able to
Right.
do this, you're creating the color grade you want, even if it is just about tonal and not color.
That's right.
And then you are shooting for that grade rather than trying to figure it out after the fact. Not every color grade is meant for everything. You're grading for the actual image, and Dan's going to shoot for that image now. This is with intent. That's the whole thing. We always do things with intent here.
That's right. Thank you, Seth. We always do things with intent.
And someone in the
Always.
chat is saying that they only shoot JPEGs and doing portraits and RAW for everything else. You're kind of losing a ton of data for skin tones and everything else. You should reconsider the RAW file.
Okay, so I mean, with just to address that, with the price of memory cards these days and how fast cameras are, I mean, coming from a time when memory cards were super expensive and they were slow if you shot RAW, sometimes it was worth it to shoot JPEGs for some stuff. But nowadays, you can shoot RAW plus JPEG, right? I mean, why just shoot JPEG? I don't know why you'd ever do that personally. I suppose if you love the JPEGs when you get home, you could always throw the RAW away, you know? All right, we're gonna work like this, and then we're gonna see that once we do this, we can actually get we'll be able to, the Capture One will continue to drop this color grade on every shot we do. And here we're nice. Now, so this is good, and this is clean.
All right, Dan.
Right.
You go get it, girl.
But we're actually going to start to push this. We're going to push our boundaries here because this is not quite where I want to play it. This is actually a nice, safe black and white. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, we're going to use a card. Yeah, sure. So that's 2 steps ahead of me as always.
You want to do the card now?
Yeah, go ahead.
It looks like the hairline. Like I see the sheen on your hair, but the hairline is like not even.
All right. Okay. So the way that you can tell when you're dealing with an amateur photographer, I mean, no offense, is they point the light at the subject. The real true pro. No, I'm just kidding. No. So the question is, why is the light over here? Well, when you're doing a hair light, if we shoot at the back of her head, right, it's going to light back here, which is not in my shot, right? My shot's there. So what I actually am doing is scooping the light past her, so it's just kind of going past and just like fringing the side of her. Yeah, when you do a hair light, this is basically how you want to do it. Because remember that when light comes out, it's not lasers, although it'd be cool if it was. It goes like this, right? 127 degrees.
And also to get the
What's that?
Is everything called feathering?
That is called feathering. Very good.
And
Candy
also-
for you. Oh, we don't have candy anymore. We gotta bring
Also,
the
one
candy
thing
back.
nobody talks about when Dan does this technique going across is that you're lighting across the hair, and that's
Yeah.
why you get hair to look like hair by getting the texture to come out because
Right.
you're raking across it. So instead of lighting the hair and then losing the shadow into the hair, you're actually creating micro texture to really show the hair.
This way a little bit. Okay.
Moses, what's up, player?
Moses. All right, so here we are. And now we're going to start messing with this a little bit more. Now we can do several different things here. We've got a black and white grade where we like it. You can even save this if you want. Now, if I want to push it, and again, I could do it with the lights, but if I start messing with my lights, I might lose detail, things like that. Doing it in Capture One gives me some ability to kind of come down here and start to mess around. Anybody who's ever watched me edit stuff will see that this is like my go-to, is the levels. I am a levels fan. All the curves people are starting to yell at me now. But I like levels.
Imagine you start a new online war fad now.
Oh man, yeah, the
The
curves.
levels versus the curves people.
People. You know, people.
What do you think curves people look like?
Oh, so
That's
if you-
hashtag Daniel Norton.
right. All right, so we have a couple. When we look at our levels, right? So that's getting me in trouble. We can see actually where this is, you know, and it's weird. This is one reason why I tell people when they're like, "Oh, I use the histogram. That's how I judge everything." Well, if I just showed you this histogram up top, would you think that was a properly exposed image? I think a lot of people that weren't studied wouldn't know or see that, right? So we can't just go by the histogram, but the histogram is what we're going to look at down at the bottom. I mean, I wouldn't use it to get your exposure, but if we look at the histogram here, and again, keeping in mind the skin tone the Cadence has, yes? Yep. Right. So, exactly. That's right. The red is pushed over. Right. So because I moved the red, we can see that the red line is over there. Right. Exactly. We can see where the stuff is. So if we go to our RGB though, right, we can actually start to drag these over to where we want to bring our. Now, generally for skin tone, it might be hard to see, but right here you see a little hump where the red is. That's the light part of the red. So now I'm just going to bring this over to really start to push that red to a brighter area. And again, you can go as bright as you want. I tend to try to keep some detail in the skin, but you can really, you know, kill it. If you bring it right to the edge of the hump of the red, you shouldn't lose detail. But you can go further, and we probably will, why not? We'll go a little further, we can see that it's starting to bring that red up more and more. And then when we come down, we can see that we're starting to get a little, but if we just do it like this, then where you have these transitions starts to not look great. But before we get there, we're gonna grab the hump, the darks, and we're gonna bring that over. And I am doing it on the main curve. Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Why do you prefer Capture One over Lightroom? Is basically the question.
Okay, so why do I prefer Capture One over Lightroom? Let me count the ways.
Stare longingly into its eyes. So,
So Lightroom is good. Why do I use Capture One instead of Lightroom? And why would it matter to you what I use? Maybe it doesn't. Because when I transferred to Capture One, Lightroom couldn't tether properly, and that is what I use it for primarily. In fact, I have a really old video on my channel where I show how I used to capture with Capture One and then edit with Lightroom because I liked Lightroom so much. But then Capture One just kept tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, and now I think Capture One does a better, faster job at this type of tweaking and editing. That's why I use it.
Yeah, I also think that Capture, personally, Seth speaking, hello.
Yep.
I think Capture One actually gives you more information interpreted out of the raw files in a lot of different ways. Having used every camera and looking at raw files in both systems at once, I think Capture One does a lot more data. You get a lot more data out of the file. Personally, it's just a great program. It really is, and it was an industry standard forever.
Well, that is true, and I use it always with my digital backs when we were shooting that way. And I will say this, I think that if you shoot the way I do, which is I shoot separate individual client sessions, I like Capture One better. I'm not a huge fan, and I'm not sponsored, so I can say what I want, of their cataloging system. If I was going to put everything in one giant catalog, I still like Lightroom better for that. Yeah. But I don't shoot like that.
Different softwares are for different reasons, for sure. So, but tethering, I think Capture One, if you're working in this pro industry, is 100% what you'll see on those sets.
Yeah.
There is a question, David in the chat's asking: Do you ever consider extra post in something like Silver FX Pro? I've never used it.
Okay. So years ago, I used Silver FX Pro, and it was pretty cool. I used it with Lightroom. It was like an extension where it jumped out, and it was pretty cool. It has like different films. I do actually have. We can mess with that in a second. I do have some Capture One's versions of different films. I don't usually use them. I set my black and white based on how I shoot because that's how I do it.
You just did it. Like that's the thing is Dan just color graded for that, right? So instead of picking a predetermined preset that like you would have bought from like a plugin package, he literally just made the Daniel Norton. You know, we actually, one of the funny things that the black and white we used forever was called Cadence Black and White, because we always graded after cadence. Yeah. You know?
So the very famous Cadence Black and White preset that Seth made. You can add film grain and stuff. It's just not something that I personally do because me personally, I'll get you in a second, is that I'm not looking to make something look like film. I'm shooting each tool because I use that tool. If I want film, I would shoot film. So that's another reason why I don't generally use that stuff anymore. Yes, in the back.
So in Lightroom,
the
curves would be the curves, and what would be levels?
Oh, that's a good question. So in Lightroom, the curves are the curves. What's levels? There's a little slider that says like blacks, whites. It used to be anyway. It's been a long time since I've used it.
Just the regular basic exposure.
It doesn't show you. It's like a different.
I think it's in dynamic range.
It's in the dynamic range. I haven't used Lightroom in a long time. So, but there was like a little area where you would adjust it. It would basically do the same thing.
Well, it's funny you say that because if you look here, over here, Capture One actually updated to give you white and black as a adjustment slider. They never had that. And then Lightroom people were like, I want the white and black slider. Especially wedding photographers wanted the white and black slider because you can actually make your blacks black without pulling down shadows.
Right.
So they actually listened and did that. So if you'll actually look at Capture One now, if you haven't touched it in a while, there's a ton of Lightroom friendly crossover.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there used to always be a 30-day free trial, although
trial.
I don't know that. So it's worth trying. Anyways, this is kind of where I like it. If you can add grain and stuff, it's not something I do. I mean, that's not where I'm at. And for me, this is a good, bright, high contrast image. And we can come in here now and no, all details there. That is all there.
Right, go up. That's there.
It's a tiny bit out, but that's there. That's it, okay. So if you're Seth,
that's Dan's
if
stuff.
you're Seth and you've got an issue with that one spot that's not 255, it is 254 right there. No, okay.
Look, I just want my money's worth out of this demo, Dan. Get working. I want every detail.
All right, we can do it a couple different ways. I can either bring back my white slider, or you can grab the highlights. No, I know. I'll show you. But there you go. Boom. There you go, Seth.
My man comes through. I can complain. I know because he can handle it. It's all right.
No, but the thing is, this is actually a really good point. I actually like that it blows out a little bit there, but because I'm doing it this way, I could do that when the client's like, oh, actually, I could fix it.
Yes.
If you do it with only light, going back to how I started this thing, you will hit a wall. If I blow it out with the light, like we used to do with film, you'd be in trouble, right? That's the beauty of doing it this way. So we have it bright, and I can go brighter, I can go darker, but now it's here, so whenever we shoot, as long as cadence more or less stays in the same spot, because again, I'm in manual, we should be able to copy those exposures automatically onto our next image, starts off like that, and boom, right? And we can see, remember I said, if this looks good in color, that I probably wouldn't be super happy that I did it right? Boring, right?
You just called you boring, Cadence. I just want you to know that.
I'm just saying, this is a boring shot. Does nothing special. It's because it's shot for the black and white. If I was shooting this for color, I would do it completely different. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're doing that. Now, could I take that color image and make it like a cadence? Like, oh, but I really want it in color. Yeah, obviously I could tweak it and make it better. But I'm just saying that out of the camera, I like it as black and white. That's how we're shooting, right? Okay, well that's super fast. Wow, I'm fast today. Any other questions?
But then don't forget, he can also save this, right? This color grading and has that as a start.
That's
if he
correct.
has a similar situation, he can go, this worked for that. I can go right into that as a base point.
Well, as Seth said, we saved one before and called it Cadence Black and White, which I used forever. And why is that? Because I often light, even though you watch all these demos, I hope you watch all these demos, you see me lighting apparently lots of different ways. I don't really. My lighting is kind of the same. Like I expose
You're
things.
fired.
Well, I'm just saying, no matter how I'm lighting something, I'm lighting it within the tolerances of how I normally shoot. So that's why presets work for me when I make them myself, right? But actually, since it was brought up, let's take a quick look at what we got. I'm pretty sure I have some.
Wait, you can also do the back and forth thing too. The Y, hitting Y and doing the back and forth.
I could have done that, but I didn't. That?
Yeah.
I could do that. But you can't make changes unless you make a variation, right? I can't change one of them, can I?
Yeah, but it lets you keep tabs on if you're losing something one way or another. Maybe you might go, you know what, her skin tone's really showing something or whatever.
Right, you can do that. Okay. What I want to do is,
Go into the preset. Apple.
yeah, I'm going to go into the preset. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go into my presets. So I have these styles, and we do actually have a black and white. And again, this is a quick way to do things.
Right at the bottom, right there.
Which?
One over.
Oh yeah, that's. Oh, let's see what that's Cadence black and white. Not bad. See, Seth is a little more silvery.
Well, we did this on a white background, remember?
Yep.
So that was color graded for a white background,
That's
not
right.
gray. So that's why you're seeing gray go to black, because you're grading for a white background that wouldn't have gone that dark.
Right. So if we go with the white background, then I have that other one. So I could call it Cadence on white, Cadence on black, and we'll just always shoot Cadence. But what I was going to do is show you.
Cadence by Daniel Norton.
Let's see what I do have some though.
Sounds like perfume.
These are ones you can actually buy. Here you go, film grain. You know. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Oh, here we go, film grain. You know, if you like that, it's not my jam, but hey, it's for some people. Actually, I think that put it on top of mine. Hold on a second.
Ill Flicks in the chat is asking, how do you get pure black in a black and white image? Turn off the lights.
Hold on. Don't I have pure black? Is that a question of whether or not I have pure black or that?
Are you asking how to grade to get pure black in the shadows? Is that what you're asking?
Right. Yeah. Clarification, please, because this is like pure black is 0, right? So I guess I'm not pure black. That's what's coming up here. These are like barely there. You drop the exposure, I suppose. Let's go back to my. I think I lost.
I made
mine.
I made that grade, but what, like 7 years ago now?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Seriously.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to get back to my grade.
But I still actually do use that that color grade as a base point for almost everything, because I know I did it for her skin tone and for that color background. So if I'm in some sort of similar subject and environment, it's a great base point.
All right. So we're gonna go again. And how do we get black? So I mean, we're just taking another picture because I don't want to mess that one. So we're pretty close to black here. I mean, I'd call that black, but.
If you guys, I'm sorry, Dan, if you look at the very top of the screen you're looking at, guys, there are 4 numbers at the top that are changing in a rainbow pattern. That's your values.
Right.
Right. So Dan's over the black dark part. He's getting 12 around there. If it was pure black, it would be 0.
0. Yeah. So
Right.
I'll just lower the exposure so you can see.
But 12, I'm going to say, close enough.
Yeah. I mean, even at.
I mean, pure black is pure black. I mean, that's what it is. It's the absence of all. So
You'd have to have no light at all. Actually, look, that's even still light because there's an image there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's
Teresa,
I lost my curves.
what's up, Teresa?
I'm just
go ahead.
noticing that her bow. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How would you light her bow if you're trying to keep the back black?
So the question is, how would you light the bow that she's wearing if you'd like to keep the back black still because her bow is black?
And I'm a flute touch.
Teresa throwing in some wrenches. Here we go.
Okay. Oh, you want detail in the bow?
Well, it's cropped out first. That's number one.
The number one trick to that is crop the bow out.
Yeah.
All right. So,
It's turning into like a house party. What's going on here?
Okay, I'm gonna crop this really weirdly so we can see the bow. Okay. So the bow is dark, right? I mean, you could do a lot of things. You would have to light it independently, I suppose, if you really, probably just using the beauty without the grid would do it. Let me see.
Yeah, you didn't start like with a straight dish, right?
Yeah, you know, I went with the grid. So we're gonna have a couple issues here though by taking the grid off. Number one, this light's gonna hit the background 100%. So that's gonna be, again, everything you do in life is compromise. If I was shooting a product, like food, I would actually use a projector and I would just light it separately. But on a person who moves around, it's hard to do such a thing. So what we want to consider is the actual object, right? So when we look at her bow, it's silky, right? So we need, in order to gain reflection, we need the light to hit it and then bounce back towards the camera. So if I want it to shine, the light's got to come, hit it, and then come back at me. So I have to think of the angle of how it's hitting. So first of all, just shoot one here so you can see. This is not going to be the right exposure, of course. And just looking at the reflection, I mean, I know she's super overexposed. We can see that it's not actually reflecting, right? If we bring our exposure down, it's still black, right? So the thing is that the bow, in order to be lit, needs to be, people probably love that. That's like an old silk screen. It needs to be, it's the angle more so than the type of light, right? So you'd have to figure out the right angle to get the bow to stand out, which would be difficult to do. It wouldn't be something I would light this way, honestly. I mean, that's just...
Could you use another hair light?
Could you?
Well, you could use a hair light to give it dimension from the back. But if you're talking about getting detail on the front of the bow, that would be difficult to do. So let's do exactly that.
I think also this
'Cause
might not be
as
the
you
shot
know-
for that accessory. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. So that actually goes into kind of a deeper concern, right? Which is the idea of lighting to what you're trying to achieve. If I'm trying to achieve a fashion shot and I need to show this bow, if they come to me and they go, we are a bow company, we need you to light our bows. This is not how I would do it, right? It's just not the thing. And we have to understand that there's compromises to at least to make things look correct. What would I do here? Well, I'd say, fine, you want this high contrast black and white, but you want to show your bow? Give me a bow that's got polka dots, right? Give me a bow that's yellow, right? Or something like that, that's closer to her skin tone, because then it will pop, right? You wouldn't do a black bow. So that's just what I wouldn't do there.
Ready for a few questions?
Yeah, I'm ready for questions.
All right. So this one person has 3 questions because they're super greedy.
Oh.
1, is your monitor calibrated? 2, your opinion on passport color checkers. Do you use them? And 3, do you use a light meter?
Okay. 1, well, the monitor is calibrated in so much as Apple calibrates the monitors. I run it through the little built-in thing. I don't use a little anymore. Not on this monitor anyways. On my old Apple monitor I do. The Spider, I used to use it, but I don't use that anymore because I'm not doing something that's for print. The reality of the situation is that when I deliver this image to Cadence, she's gonna put it on Instagram and you're gonna look at it on an Android phone. Sorry if I called you Android and you're not, and I don't wanna like put, but you're looking at it on a Samsung, you're on an Apple phone, you're definitely an Apple phone, right? And oh, he's Android, oh, I was right, okay, so, right, so everybody's gonna be a little bit off, right? If I'm not shooting it for a company that the color is absolutely perfect, I'm not worried about that, personally. Color checker, yes, if I'm shooting something that the color really matters. In which case I use a color calibrated monitor, I calibrate it on the location as I'm shooting it. 3, do I use a light meter? Sure, I'll use one right now.
And just to piggyback on that, you guys have to realize that the calibration, all that stuff matters with, you want it to match a final destination of like
That's
a
right.
print, something that's going to be hung that everyone's going to be looking at the same exact final source. So if they're not, yes, it's important to a degree if it's ridiculously off. But like he said, we have like 5 monitors here. We were just watching a video. Every monitor showed a different skin tone.
Yeah.
It is what it is because there's no consistency against what they built that monitor with and how they grade it. And even glossy versus matte screens change things. So it actually, no, he shot like that. That's what that looks like. Yeah, that's pretty close. I calibrate.
Oh.
See, that's a good example. I calibrated these screens to be as close to whatever we plug in
we're
here in
looking
the
at a
space.
terrible image where I overexposed you, sorry.
So that's a final destination for all you guys to see it, right? So I had to make it match. Yeah. If you turn this around, you'll see that's almost identical within a degree. I mean, that's a Sony monitor. This
It's
is
a little
Apple
more
screen.
blown out, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's light for the bow though. because I always love a challenge. Did I answer all three? I did, right?
Maybe every time we'll do a Teresa challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe every time we'll do it.
So the bow is a three-dimensional object on our subject, and we want to still stick with the high contrast black and white. Because I made this agreement. I'm like, hey, Cadence, you're a pretty famous model.
You're an actress.
Will you
come
shoot
on.
with me? And she's like, I will, but only if I get the shot I want, which is show my bow. And I'm like, well, okay, I can show the bow. All right, so she's got a bow company. Cadence's Bows, you can check it out, cadencebow.com. The bow is spelled with no W. Okay. Right. Yes. So we're going to look at the bow and we're going to think, well, how can we light this right? We're going to give it some dimension from the back. So for that, we're going to have her turn and we're going to look at the shape of the bow. I can see it here, right? So here, we're going to move the softbox into it. I can also just light the background, which would also work, but this is much more fun. I don't want to make it easier. All right, so what we're going to do here, though, and when you're trying to do something more precise like this, it's a good idea to do one light at a time. Plus, it takes longer and they pay me by the hour. So I'm going to turn off my A light. I'm only using the B light. Oh, I'm not going to use CTO. I took 2 challenges here. All right, so.
Oh, the challenge is to use more tools. No.
Yes. Oh no. Well, I mean,
Use more tools. What a
without the
challenge.
remote, it's
No.
hard to. So we're gonna monitor. This is okay. Because now I'm doing something tricky. If you're doing a hair light, you want to match what you plan on saying in the camera coming back from the back of her head. That's usually the best way to do it. So we point it at the light from her head. And we're going to try to get 7.1 because my very first camera was a view camera and it had a 7.1 Kodak lens. 8, good enough. All right, so we've got f8. I used a light meter. Now,
Put a check mark on the screen.
I set my camera at f8. You point it at
Point
the
at
light.
the light. Point at the light.
Yeah. All right. Oh, man. I'm going to go old school here for you guys.
Vertical?
I'm going vertical. Oh, yes.
Look at the heavy lifting. Look at these muscles. Look at that bicep.
This camera has not been vertical in whoa.
right?
Yeah, it looks like the little
got it.
tripod little thing you got loose there.
Yeah, here.
Again.
Give it to me.
All right, tighten me up. Thank you.
Do your
I really haven't been vertical in a while, clearly. When I first started shooting, everybody shot vertical because that's how you got the cover, right? But after you've had a cover, the next best thing, the 2-page spread.
Yeah, until it's in the middle of the fall.
Yeah, and then they ruin it. Just don't center your subject. Right. All right. The old 2-page spread. They'd be like, why'd you shoot everything horizontal? Well,
All right, guys in the chat, let them get through 13 challenges first, and we'll go into the rest of those, okay?
Okay, so here we are.
Maybe that's your new series. Just throw
13
stuff at Dan,
challenges?
make him do it. I'll put a ring of fire, and you can jump through it.
Right. Oh, well. Right.
Yeah, these demos turn into people just going what about if you just did this shot we're not doing right now? It's like something completely.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is shoot this how I would normally just shoot the hair light. We'll see what happens. Okay? We're keeping the black and white up because why not? Okay. We don't see the bow, right? Because the light is not picking it up. Because, it's getting just the edge of it. Okay, so I'm going to bring the light up a little bit. Boop. You have to make that sound.
Why don't you use an L bracket for shooting vertical? Because he does it once a millennium.
Why don't I use an L bracket? Oh, that'd be cool. Nobody had L brackets back in the day. We just shot vertical. It was the normal thing. No, I don't know. An L bracket, that'd be pretty cool. Actually, I used to have I used to have a strobo frame. Do you remember that? That's super old school.
I think you're crushing the dark so much because it does show up in the color. If you do Y,
Yep.
and you see it, you can see it more in the color.
Yeah, we can see the edge of it. We're not. Okay, so what's happening here is I'm laying the back of it and not the front of it enough, so we're going to bring this around. And yes, as Seth said, I'm going to make it easier on myself. Seth likes to make it easy for me, so.
Listen, you've done a lot of demos over the years. I figure you can take it easy for a little bit.
All right.
It's you have 300 episodes of your series alone. Forget about the demos.
Okay, so here we're seeing the edge of it. Not bad, right? This is the place we're going to start with. Now, I'm going to light Cadence herself So she's here, we can see the edge of it. Okay. Light meter. All right. These don't have optical, right? Or they're not, it's not on. Okay. So remember, I'm going for f8. No, I don't want an optical. Okay. 6.3. So doing my math, I'll raise it up. That's about half stop, I guess. There we go. 6.3 is 5, 6.5, roughly.
For what proposal would you use this style in commercial terms?
When would I use this in commercial terms? Probably never.
We're just kind of doing the effect to get it based on
Yeah.
principle.
Okay.
Wait, what happened to your black and white?
I took it off because you said you wanted it in color. Okay, so
I didn't say it was in color, just that in color you see the detail.
You could ever just face the beauty dish.
I'm going to. Yeah. No, I want to see how much of that beauty just was going to hit the background. Okay. That's what I thought. So we're not going to do that.
That's some sad cadence right there.
Sad cadence.
With the bow and everything. Like it was
Okay.
your party just did not pan out.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Oh.
Right.
Ooh.
Angle. And then
Oh,
this
come
part we're not going to get fully because it's hidden, but you know.
Come on, Dan, get it, Dan. Get it, Dan.
And what we're going to do is, now let's get right. We could always style it differently. What we're going to do now is go back to our black and white, which of course I didn't save that preset, so I'm going to have to quickly do it again, but that's all right. That's what we're here for. Black and white. It's actually a tiny bit overexposed too. Okay, so I'm going to actually.
Come on, this
one
guy
more
is doing
shot.
shots on demand, people. Hit like. You 300 in this chat, 170 likes. How lazy are you? Hit like. Jeez. And subscribe. Double workout.
All right, let me just do another quick shot. I want to reestablish myself here. Okay, I think that's good.
Yeah, you're just getting a shadow from the other bow. That's
Yeah, it's a shadow. So baseline, that could be a reflector. Although it'd be hard not to get it on her face. I'm gonna have you turn a little bit more this way.
You want to bounce in?
Yeah, I think so. This is where modeling lights are nice.
You want mono lights?
No.
These would be 10 exposed. Yeah, they got-
No, I just won't be able to see because it's too bright in here. That's good enough. All right. So now we're black and white.
Oh, you can see that.
We got the bow. Now we're gonna jump in and we're gonna do some quick manipulations.
Hey, Matt Irwin, welcome.
I'm bringing up the red. Again, I'm gonna go a little bit faster because we did this once before. I'm gonna bring.
I'll let you go into overtime, Dan. Don't worry. I'll give you the extra time, okay?
No. We got to do it fast because people already saw it.
You're not getting it easy tonight. Come on. I'm getting my money's worth tonight.
All right, you
Get
are.
to work. Get to
Okay,
work.
so again, we're with this over. So again, I'm going into my levels and I'm adjusting. We can see we got the bow. It's got
Yeah.
some detail, right?
Yeah. Nice job, man.
Yeah, you got it. Now I could kill the detail by going like this,
Yes, that's it.
right? So make sure that your processing is appropriate, right? Obviously, as we're going into this, we have to think about what we want to do. So we're not going to be able to do that. But what we can do is take our mids just to give us the proper tonality that we want,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Also, keep in mind, you're kind of lighting for the sheen here, right?
Yep.
Because it is a black bow, so you still want it to come across as a black bow in the shot. You're not trying to change the subject, right?
Yes, the worst client ever is the one that has a shiny product and doesn't want it to be shiny in the picture.
Change the nature of everything.
Right, it's like, well, the bag looks shiny. Well, it's made out of plexiglass. All right, so, again, if we really wanted both sides of the bow to be lit, it would just require a different styling. But we can see that it's really about the angle more so than anything. What would I do different if I was actually doing this as a job and had the time to do it in other gear? Grid here would help me control it on her hair, because I think her hair is a little bright for my own taste. I could do this. That might help. But a grid would be much better. Okay, that's pretty much the only thing I would probably change, and maybe a reflector is what we're probably going to use right now. So that's going to come in and reflect.
What do you want, silver or drip?
I think, can we kick silver up under the bow, or is that going to go all over her face?
Am I in?
No, you're not. Here we go. All right, we made a couple of changes.
That's a lot.
Too much. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was hoping to get it only on the bow. I think we need it just very particular. Can we get it just on the bow?
Just under the bow.
Is it impossible just for using the backlight as a? Yeah.
Just on the bow.
Probably not, but we'll try.
Why is there a footprint on this reflector already?
No.
Well, I can't. You can't really reflect that grid from where I'm standing.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I meant
Trying to get
use the softbox.
Yeah, I'm
light.
trying to get the softbox like this.
Yeah, what we really need is a mirror or really another light is what we need. So that's what you get. That's about 3/4 the way there for you. How's that?
Turn your head towards that. Yeah.
Well, Seth's gonna get it.
Yeah.
While Seth gets it, I will drink
You
the
ready?
coffee. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Are you drinking coffee? Did I say it was break time?
All right.
Did I tell you to go to the break room?
Let
Norton?
me know when the reflector's in the right spot. Well, I'm gonna shoot it from here.
So I'm shaking the reflector just to see. Oh, come on, Dan.
That's the look Cadence makes when you shake the reflector at her.
Didn't like that.
Try this. No. Yeah, it's
It's too much. Yeah, we don't have the
if
right
you
tools.
see it, you can see it there.
Yeah, it's there. All right. So again, what you can do to at home, your homework to finish this shot,
Thanks, Teresa.
right?
Thanks, Teresa.
You would need to get the trick would be to get more light over there. It's not shadowed, which would be a secondary light. Manipulating the bow is probably what I would do. That's when you get it closer, you go stylist, and they come in and fix it. Okay. What was the next question? What did we do?
I have no idea
Okay.
where we are anymore.
All right. So let's get back to where a spot where we like it.
What colors would work best when shooting high contrast black and white with this lighting setup?
Okay, what colors work best? So again, part of this would depend on who you're photographing, right? Because when we're manipulating our color, we're manipulating those reds, blues, et cetera, based on skin tone. So part of that has to do with that. But generally speaking, don't do white or black if you can avoid it, because that's going to be a little bit tricky to keep the detail. Something like red is usually good, I find, or blue, right?
Yeah, so
Something with a pattern is nice because
That-
then you can really showcase it. That was the instructions I gave to Cadence. I said, Cadence, we're doing high contrast black and white. Bring something with a pattern, because that's just going to be easier to really show that contrast.
And also keep in mind that if you're shooting something high contrast, when you make something dark for the shadows, that's where your blues live. That's where your cool tones live. Skin tones, warm tones. So if you're going to start pushing those, if they're wearing a red shirt, it's going to push the same way you push the skin, kind of similar. So if the skin tone matches close to the color they're wearing and you're grading for
like
the
a
skin tone, it's going to affect that color.
We stand here.
So if they're wearing
Face
tan and
light.
they're in that same type of
A little more.
skin tone, you're going to affect that with the color grade.
Yeah.
Same as if it was color, right? So just keep in mind that the skin tone is going to go with the color closest color, just like anything else. But blues and what would you say, like deep greens are like shadows?
Yep.
Yeah, and purples.
And purple.
Well, cool tone purple.
Yeah.
But like if they have like caramel skin and they're wearing beige, guess what's going to happen, kids? They're both going to grade the same way.
Okay. So I've changed the lights around a little bit. I switched back to TTL because now I've shown that we used a meter. And we can see that because I moved the lights in TTL, it's been consistently hot for me. We're a little bright here. Now, I could start making adjustments, but remember, I have an adjustment on the camera, but this is where, I have to kind of think about this. If I want, what I normally do, this is how I do it. This is probably not the best way to do it. I go Shift-Command-C, which is all my toning, and I just hit R to correct it so I can see where I'm actually at. I don't lose what I just did. So I'm bright. I can see I'm hot here. Now for a color image, that might not be hot for me because I might like it there. But this seems a little bit too overall bright for me. So I'm going to just bring everything down a bit, right? I'm going to switch to manual. That's what we do. What's that? Oh, at 9. Oh, I'm at 9 now. Well,
One goes to a 9.
I'm going to go to 8. Nobody wants to go to 9. That's not cool. So I'm going to go to 8. So I'm going to make 2 adjustments. I'm going to go down 1 full stop because of that. And then I'm going to go down a third of a stop. On my B light, I'm going to go down, again, a stop and a half. Now I can do that because the lights are digital and they just tell you. Well, I think probably most lights are digital now. But now we're getting back in the range where we want to be. Again, we've got skin tone is good and even, so that when we go and we drop our thing on it, we're close, right? We don't have that blown out, so that's not mad. We've got this darkness. This is good, but just maybe work your chin up just a tiny bit more. We want to shape her face with this. This is really like a nice shaping light. So somebody asked about using stuff commercially. When you're doing really stylized shots, the time you're going to use it is twofold. One is to get jobs. One thing I learned early on, as somebody who shot fashion catalogs for a long time, is nobody hiring you for a catalog wants to see catalog shots in your portfolio. I made that mistake. They know you can shoot a person standing there evenly lit in the thing. That you should be able to, anybody can do that that's a pro. They want to see your style, because when they're on set and they go, oh, we have some extra budget and some time, do you want to shoot an ad? They want to see what you can do, right? So that's when you shoot shots like this. They're to showcase your skill. Also, you might use them for something very particular. Mood ads like jewelry or perfumes, you know, we're talking about. That's when you might use some of this kind of more artistic, as they say, shots. So you'll use it in editorial, you use it to get jobs. Would your standard commercial job shoot something super high contrast? Usually not, but maybe.
But you might have someone request this for, I don't know, the cover of a book, their blog post, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, they might need something that they want attention on and look clean, right?
Yeah.
Have a style to it. I think a lot of people don't realize that black and white is so open-ended with style. From, you could like matte gray. Me and Dan are in the crispy contrast kind of taste world, you know, but look at Calvin Klein. Flat newspaper gray is a style for that brand, right?
Yeah. And Seth loves Krispy Kreme donuts too.
Not really. They're too sugary. I find
We went all over Las Vegas.
No, that was
Not
different.
just-
That was different because we saw a guy eating them, and it was like 3 a.m, man. I was like, you know what, that'd be good.
Pointing out that he was saying we went looking for.
You
I
were
went
looking for Nesquik for like 4 hours of Nesquik. We're looking for Nesquik. Then
That
we
is
see a
true.
guy eating. This guy had a death wish. He was eating Popeyes and Krispy Kreme in the same table, and I'm like, damn, there's a Krispy Kreme around here. And then the pilgrimage began.
It was not around there. Let me just say.
It was not around. We went through like probably 4 casinos. Didn't even realize it. We went through like 4 casinos. That was a long night.
That was a long
And
night.
then the next morning, I was like, "You're not gonna believe what happened to me."
Yes. That part we can't see on the air. So, all right. So the other thing I did here is I went
Tell
back
you
in
later.
and crunched my blacks a little bit, because remember I didn't crunch them as much when I cared about the bow. I no longer care about the bow. So now we're back to a nice crisp black and white image. It's got contrast. I have detail if I ever want to bring it back, but you know, is this in camera? And in a sense, it is, because if I didn't shoot it a certain way, I wouldn't be able to make this image the way I did. So remember, that doesn't mean that you're shooting it, you never touch it again. You just want to shoot it so that you want to have intent. You want to think, this is the image I'm going to make with this. This is what I'm going to do in post. And that's what you're doing in camera. I'm air quoting a lot today.
Well, I mean, he lit for the grade, right?
Right.
Like he made decisions physically with the lights and the way he shot for the grade. It wasn't after the fact, right?
Okay.
Any question? Last question in the chat,
Last
guys.
questions in the chat.
Dan's gonna pay. I'm gonna have to start paying Dan overtime.
That's
Let's-
right. Yes.
What tools will you use if you don't have any plugins to? I want to create a good blend between the black and the white image.
What would you use if you don't have plugins? This isn't plugins. This
I didn't
is
use a
manually
plugin. I
graded.
did that manually.
This is all manually graded.
So the question was, what would I use if I didn't have plugins? I did not use a plugin. I just did that all manually. That was a color grade within Capture One. You can do that in Lightroom.
However,
Yep.
you could save it and use it as a preset if
Yeah.
you wanted to. So if she came to the studio again with a similar type of look and you wanted to go just start off there, he could have that. But this wasn't a selection. Dan did this from scratch.
Yeah, I did that from scratch. Well,
Yeah,
I know it doesn't seem that way because it was so impressive. Or not.
Like, did you mess with the slides? And,
I did, but I did
Yeah.
that myself.
Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you just tell me to do it. That wasn't a preset. Like, how do you process your images now? Or you don't? Do you have Photoshop, Lightroom?
Yeah, I use soft lights to get a balance.
Okay. Whatever software you have, you should have some manipulations. Never just desaturate. Always look for a black and white mode where you can adjust the colors. That's the key.
I try not to shoot too.
Okay.
What about making the background white? I think that's a pretty good one.
Background white.
Yeah. You want to go and you want to do?
Well, I would have to shoot more light at it.
That's what. Yeah, I think that's what they're asking. Like, what about making the background white?
What adjustments would you make your lighting if you were shooting? Okay, well, okay. So, a couple things. If the background's white, we're gonna not want to blow out her skin too much, right? Because remember what I talked about? Dark to light to gray to dark to light, or black, right? We're creating a mood here. We're going dark to our brightest, to our mid-tone, to our dark, to light, to dark. If the background was white, I'd go white to dark, to mid-tone, to light, to dark, right? You do the opposite. So if you were shooting on a white background, you just wouldn't probably hair lighter, right? At least not as much, and you'd make sure you had enough shadow on her face to carry her over. What would I use if I was shooting somebody with a person of color with darker skin? The manipulation of the color sliders would likely be different. They're gonna have different colors in their skin. I would be very cautious if I was shooting somebody with very dark skin about too much like shadow on the front of their face, unless that's really what I was going for. You wanna shape them up, but remember that no matter how dark or light somebody's skin is, what you're actually lighting is the reflection of the oils on their skin. So don't shoot somebody really flat and then push them up or push them down. Hit those, hit the skin with light and it will reflect and you'll get beautiful shape.
Don't worry, Roy. I will try not to talk as much for you, okay?
I gotta pay Seth.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Gotta love it.
Got it. Next time we'll,
What's a good size beauty dish to begin with portrait photography?
beauty dish.
Like 22?
22 inches is standard size. Notice, can Seth not, oh, haha.
Yeah. Nice, right?
Seth, Seth likes to chime in. He's got a big mouth.
Yeah, for the last 3 minutes of this demo, I will not chime in, Roy. Oh, is this chiming in, Roy? I'm sorry, Roy.
All right. Okay, for a black and white image, I used to add 50% blue layer on top of my images. Oh, then cool. That's also cool. There's lots of things you can do like that, adding layers of color
Right.
or shadow. Play around with it, but remember that that's it. When you go black and white, it's not just about desaturating, it's about amplifying or increasing and decreasing the contrast or the saturation, I should say, of different colors. That's really what we're doing there.
Yeah, but you see what you're doing there, Fernando, is what we used to be married to if we shot with a blue filter over the lens
Right.
when we were shooting black and white. Like how many times have you seen yellow filter or red filter when shooting black
That's
and
right.
white? That's what you're doing, but you're able to do that as an option rather than married to it with the image. That's what's so beautiful about where we're at right now.
That is 100% true. Yeah, right. You used to do it in camera, right? Red filter on Tri-X.
88,
Oh.
remember?
All right. Catch me in 2 weeks, I think. No, December 14th, I'll be back.
Is it the 14th?
Yeah, small kit, big result or something like that. I'm going for catchy titles. I went into the what do they call that? AI thing that tells you what to say.
ChatGPT.
And I was like, give me a good title. And it didn't give me that.
That's
All
a
right.
good one, the last one. Is there a ratio?
Oh, is there a ratio? Me personally, and again, this is a stylistic thing, I'm probably like 80% black, 20% white. If you're just going black-white. But then gray is somewhere, maybe like 60% black, 20% gray, 20% white. Personally, I love a good dark image. That's just the way I like to shoot. If you like a big bright image, you can go the opposite. But that's where I usually go.
Yeah. Again, it's your style. No one can tell you how to get to the way you want it to look. It's just Dan's kind of just giving you like the from camera to shooting it intentfully with that grade, right?
Yeah.
So now you choose that grade.
Right. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for watching. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, buy stuff from Adorama, all that good stuff. I'll be back on the 14th. Follow Cadence Frank. I'm supposed to be looking somewhere. He's pointing at things, this camera. Okay. I'm Daniel Norton. That's Cadence Frank. Seth is last X witness. Make sure you capitalize the X.
I hate you so much.
Peace. I'm good.
All right, you're officially off the clock, Dan. Go
All right,
get your
good.
Krispy Kreme. All right,
I'm good to
bye,
get
guys.
my donuts.